Shalom. This is Rabbi Sachs coming to you from the Chai Center, and welcome to the Chai Academy. So, we are smack dab in the middle of a Holocaust series. Yesterday we discussed righteous Gentiles who really risked their lives for the most part in order to save Jews. So, generally Europe was a mess. Generally Europe just they didn't care. They didn't care. But I think there are some stories and some facts about various countries who, either individuals or the government, etc., really helped the Jews. So saved significant numbers. So and they, by the way, they've all been recognized. They've all been recognized in Yad Vashem. They have their name there as righteous Gentiles. So the let's talk about Poland. So I know Poland. I personally, the Polish government, and the average Pole did not help the Jews. In fact, they were kind of happy when a Jew got deported from his house, because that meant they got the house, right? The house is vacant, so now they can, now they have two houses. So the Poles in particular were they were silent conspirators. Some of them were vocal. However, to be fair to Poland, because of people who stepped up to the plate, close to 150,000 Jews were saved. And this was not in one town or one village. This was throughout the country. There were good people in towns, and there were good people in villages that really stepped up. And it was a risk to their own life. The very first country Germany warned, if you help a Jew, it's punishable by death, was Poland. Yet 6,532 people stood up, individuals stood up to help the Jews escape the Nazi wrath. 700 of those actually lost their lives. They were killed because the Nazis caught them. It's punishable by death. They were killed. So that's just the general populace. Over 6,500 individuals stepped up. That we know of. There was also something called the Zagota movement. You may have heard of it. Basically, it was an organization that was organized specifically to help save Jews. That was its mission. That was its mission statement. That was in the bylaws. I don't know if it was that sophisticated, but that's why these good people, these non-Jews, came together, and they formed a corp. They formed a brotherhood, and they were specifically trying to save children. Now, it's interesting. There were two women who founded the Zagota movement, and I don't know their names at all, but one of them was known to be an anti-Semite. But she said, anti-Semitism has a limit. You don't kill. You don't beat. You don't, there's one thing is, stay away from him, etc. But to do what the Nazis did, and she stepped up. She stepped up and she said, no, it's not, we got to do something about this. When the war was over, so Poland became was overrun by Stalin. And what happened was Stalin arrested members of the Zagota movement because they were friendly with Jews who are an enemy of the state. So that's how warped this was. That's how these people were rewarded, is that Stalin rounded them up. There was another group called Lapos Group, and what they did was they smuggled people into Switzerland And then they gave them South American, they forged South American passports to get them to South America and out of Europe. So it's pretty impressive that you had organized movements in Poland to help the Jews. Now, normally, impressive. Of course, you step up to the plate, right? Impressive. But the reason why it's impressive, aside from they ran the risk of losing their lives, I think the other reason why it's impressive is because their town mates, their village mates, their city mates, their country mates hated Jews. And they bucked the trend. And I think so, even though you say, well, it's not impressive to do something, they were supposed to do it. I agree, but their environment, their atmosphere was one of not doing anything. And we discussed this a while ago that the Germans did hire local thugs to beat Jews up, and they were happy to do so. So that's Poland. Then we have Greece. So Greece, the people, most of the people that got involved was the Christian Orthodox movement, right? And they basically, as soon as the stuff, hit the fan, they said that these people are Greeks, and they're no different than us. And the archbishop, or whatever he was called, he penned a letter together with 27 other organizations that the Jews need to be saved. Then they penned a similar letter and sent it to Hitler directly, saying that not on our watch. You're not going to do this. And so the Greeks helped the Jews. I don't have a statistic of how many Jews were saved, but the Greek Orthodox Christians really helped. In an island of Zakynthos, I may be pronouncing that wrong. The bishop once again really stepped up. So the Nazis, they demanded that the Jews, a list of Jews, they want a list of Jews so that they can round them up. So the archbishop of this island, or the head bishop of this island, he provided the Nazis with a list. On the list were two names, his and the mayor of the island. No other names. A very famous person who helped Jews, and you may have heard stories about her recently, was Alice Battenberg. She was the mother of Prince Philip, the mother-in-law of Queen Elizabeth, and she actually remained in Greece during the war specifically to shelter Jews, and she hid Jews. So that was just an amazing thing. While the members of Prince Philip's family were Nazi sympathizers, Prince Philip's mother specifically, and you can Google her, a fascinating woman, and a lot of trouble and travail in her life, but she was truly a righteous Gentile, and she was honored. I was telling you about this island. So this island of Zakynthos, they had in 1953, I think it was, they had an earthquake, and Israel was the first to run to help, and Israel said, "You helped us, we're going to help you." So Israel feels very indebted. The Jewish people are indebted to Greece for their help in saving Jews. Another country that's very low on my totem pole of good countries is France. But France, they did do a number of unbelievable things. We discussed yesterday that there was a whole town, Le Chambon, who basically um, saved saved Jews, hid Jews in barns, in houses, in factories, in basements, and they just the whole town or village in south of France, I think Chambon um, is 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 a they were tzaddikim, they were righteous. There was a priest. There was a priest. He was Benoit, priest Benoit. He single-handedly saved 4,000 Jews. 4,000 Jews he saved. Um, there was a Brazilian diplomat. I don't remember his name, who basically issued exit visas and passports to fake, like forgeries. Or maybe they were real because he was a diplomat, but they were under just they were not Brazilian citizens. There was also in Greece. There was also in France. There were Muslims that helped Jews. A lot of Muslims that helped hide Jews. And we said something yesterday. We said that a lot of the people that are Philo-Semites, love Jews, are generally those with a little bit of a religious background, and I think we see it here. We see it here clearly. Belgium, the country of Belgium. So I think it was April. I think it was 1943. So there was this train that was going to Auschwitz, and the Belgian partisans, the underground army, they pulled 231 Jews off that train, and they saved their lives. It's interesting. I think Belgium had about 50,000 Jews in the time of the war. 25,000 were deported. And out of those 25,000 that were deported, between 1,000 and 1,500 survived. So if Germany would have gotten all the Jews in Belgium, there are very little survivors, right? But so 25,000 were able to were not deported, and were able to hide from the Nazis. And once again, it was done. It was by priests. It was also by people. So we have to give credit where credit is due. So while while I really I don't think I could live in Europe because of history, but we can't condemn, or maybe we can condemn. We can it's a no, it's a tough one. The by far, I think the country that did the most, for the Jews was Denmark. So there were 8,000 Jews living in Denmark. 7,200 Jews survived, and the way they survived was people with the consent of the government. By the way, this was a government thing. This came straight from the king. What's his name? Christian X, right? I think that was his name. Christian the 10th. I remember it. And the government, they banded together and they said, we have to save our Jews. This is immoral, what's going on. And they ferried in multiple boats over a 2-week period. They ferried Jews over to Sweden, which is a neutral country. So Denmark was occupied, right, in 1940, but they managed to get their Jews out. They also did something else, which I think is you wish other people would have done this. So 450 Jews were sent to the concentration camp called Theresienstadt. And from Theresienstadt, generally they went from there to Auschwitz. So the Danish Red Cross, with the backbone of the king, demanded entrance access into the concentration camp. And the Germans refused. They said no. They said, listen, this is our citizens, and they actually gained access, and not one Jew was transported to Auschwitz from Theresienstadt. People died. They died in Theresienstadt because of starvation, disease, but many were saved. But so from the 450, I don't know how many survived, but the Danish. Now you have to realize the Danish, the police, the military, right? They were all on the same page. We're not giving up the Jews. The populace were not giving up the Jews. You know, you've heard the story about the king told Hitler that these are my people. They're my people, and we're not giving them up. But it's a myth that he wore a star. But what's not mythical is that he announced we have to do everything in our power. And from that, when the head is corrupt, the rest of you is corrupt. When the head is on straight and functioning, then the body can function. So King Christian was just, he really set the tone, right? He really set the tone. The last one we'll talk about today, and then please God, our next class we're going to go through other countries. But just some fascinating. You know what? It's just fascinating stuff. I mean, I find that the whole Holocaust, aside from troubling, I find I find it interesting what makes people tick. The Netherlands. So there were, I think, 5,500 Jews were saved, and 25% of the 16,000 Jews survived. So 4,000. I believe that's like in addition. There was the famous, the founder of the Kindertransport. I think this is what someone meant yesterday. I think. I mean, the Kindertransports were from where they basically tried to save the kids, and the kids were transported to England, Hadwich, I think. So Kindertransport began in 1938, but one of the people who really had a special mention, and she's in Yad Vashem. Her name was Gertrude Meyer. So she was responsible, and they actually have a monument, and with her standing next to it, a monument dedicated to her. Then there was a fellow by the name of John Zwartenik, and I'm probably butchering the name. So he was a diplomat, and he was somewhere in I'm not even sure from where. He may have even been like a person in government in the Netherlands, but he managed to procure 10,000 exit visas to hand out. It wasn't only to Jews, but he was able to get to 10,000 exit visas to get people out of harm's way. I think we have a very famous, right, Anne Frank, right? So the righteous Gentile that hid and brought food and brought clothing, right? What's her name? Giep. So Micha Giep, I think. She's a righteous Gentile. One of the most incredible things that happened during the war took place in Amsterdam. It's called the Amsterdam. You probably heard of it. It's called the Amsterdam Dock Strike. It's basically close to 500,000 Gentiles from Amsterdam went on strike, and they went on strike The reason for the strike is you're killing Jews, and you're treating Jews like animals. They went on strike, and they drove the Nazis absolutely crazy. I don't know how long the strike was for. I just don't remember. But that was one of the highlights, is that, you had close to 500,000. There's different, some people say there was 350,000, 450,000, 500,000. But that's a lot of people. A lot of people. And they stepped up and they said, no, not on our watch. And many Jews were saved because of these people. So I would rate Denmark, the highest, but Netherlands were pretty cool, and just the Polish, the amount. I think they had the highest amount of individuals, the Polish, right? 6,532. So I think they had the highest amount of individuals that were able to save Jews. On next class, we're going to talk about Bulgaria and Hungary, and we're going to talk about Spain. Fascinating story in Spain, actually. Only a nut job, only a Meshuggah can do what he did. So we'll talk about other countries. Until then, we have to realize that we were created in God's image, right? Which means that we have the ability to be godly, and many people stepped up, right? But because we're in a physical body, we have with physical needs and physical, we can also be swayed to the dark side of the force. So unfortunately, very few and far between chose to recognize they were in God's image, but they did. King Christian did, for example, and he set the tone. But most of Europe chose the wrong side of the road, the wrong path, and it's truly unfortunate. What would happen if this was now? If this was in the era of the internet, 24/7, and more people are enlightened, what would it be? I pose this as a question, as dialogue. Would it be different now, or would it not be different now? So that's your homework. You can always feel free to respond right here on the Facebook page at any time. And if you wish to see others in the series, you can go to thechaicenter.com/academy, or go to youtube.com and put in The Chai Academy. Until we meet again, God bless.